Hey YouTube, it's Sierra, also known as This Disabled Chick. What am I doing? I don't know. But if you don't know me, my name is Sierra. I am a disabled woman of color. I am a clinical mental health therapist, and I currently live in Spain. I moved to Spain back in 2018. I was supposed to only be here for 6 months, but decided to stay here. And 3 years later, I'm still here and I'm thriving. Do I plan to go back to the United States? Absolutely not. So in today's video, I want to talk about how to learn a language, especially when you are physically moving permanently or semi-permanently to that country. And some of the mistakes that I've made while moving to Spain so that you can prevent these mistakes and utilize some of the tips that I have for you. One of the biggest mistakes that I made when I moved to Spain was finding a sense of community. Yes, I am a social butterfly and I like to get involved in different communities wherever I go. And I did that. I successfully did that. However, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made was I got involved in communities where my friends, my peers, my colleagues, they spoke English. I wasn't able to utilize my community group as a base or a means of practicing the Spanish language. So the tip that I want to share to you is that when you build a sense of community within the country that you're moving to, is to find communities where there are native speakers of that language. It's okay to get involved with friends and to build a side community of people that give you a sense of familiarity. So, you know, whatever country that you're from, especially if you're from the United States, you will find different types of Erasmus groups where you will find a lot of Americans or people from English-speaking countries where you can get involved in, and it will put you at complete ease. Because trust me, when you move to a different country and you're speaking and learning a different language, you will be tired of speaking that language because it is difficult. It is difficult for your brain to wrap around the fact that you are trying to think in a different way. It is so confusing for the brain. So it's okay to get involved in familiarity communities where, you know, you're hearing your native language and you're feeling that you don't have to overthink to express yourself. This is great. However, I will heavily encourage you to try to get involved in communities where your native mother tongue is not the primary language that's spoken within those communities. And this leads me to my second tip. It kind of ties in together, is to get involved in activities. Find what your hobby is. If you like journaling, if you like book clubs, if you like drawing or painting or jazz, whatever it is that you like, try to find communities that have events, that are holding events or teaching classes or have shops where you can have one-on-one connections with people and you're forcing yourself to speak those type of languages, because most likely within those activity groups you will find native people involved within those activities. Another tip is to practice. I know this is so like duh. If you're learning a new language, of course you're going to practice. That's not what I did. I didn't practice as much as I should have. I just allowed myself to learn like a baby, because my mindset back then in 2018 was, okay, how does a baby learn how to speak a new language? They learn from their surroundings. What's their surroundings? They're surrounded by TV that they hear, music that they hear within their language, people that are talking around them. And so all the sounds and things that they're hearing are from their language. And so that's what I did. I decided to not go the traditional route of learning Spanish as a second language. I decided to, you know, get involved with my coworkers, and I decided to get involved with colleagues. When I was invited to dinner with my colleagues, I would try to hold conversations with their family members and their friends so that I was able to practice, and also to be quiet and to hear the language and hear them hold conversations so that I can hear how they structure their sentences, or how to hear bad languages, bad words, and to hear different expressions and how they're using these normal words, these regular words, and they're incorporating them in an expressive way. That was how I learned within the first 6 months of learning Spanish, was to become a baby. And yes, this is a good tip, and I would encourage people to use this tip. However, I also would say to get the old dusty crusty grammar book and begin studying, especially if it's a Latin-based languages. There are so many verbs and conjugated verbs. It is insane, but it will help. Especially there are apps now where you can download and you're able to play games so that you're able to learn how to conjugate these verbs, and it will stick in your head, trust me. Another tip is when you're speaking your language, try not to directly translate, because sometimes the direct translation of what you're trying to say from your native language to the targeted language is not going to fit. Some of the things that I told myself was to not directly translate what I am trying to say, or to not directly translate anything when I'm holding a conversation, when I'm engaging in a conversation with someone. Because sometimes a direct translation in Spanish language doesn't fit, it doesn't work. So whenever I hear new words or new expressions, I try not to translate those expressions word by word. I try to hear it as it is. And once I heard it as it was, it just came out naturally for me. Even if it didn't make grammatical sense for a direct translation into the English language, I just knew that it sounded correct in Spanish. So I would regurgitate exactly what I heard, how the tone sounds, and mimicked those tones. For some reason, it just comes out when you're in a conversation, it just comes out that exact way. It's so interesting how the brain and learning new languages works. Read. Read. When I first moved here, I had a children's book, and it was a very thin book that was super simple and super easy, and I kind of flew through that book, and I needed something more advanced. And so I have a thicker book that is very difficult. It's a very difficult read even for Spaniards, so I'm taking my time with this one. But I'm saying all of that to say is to read as much as you can. Read out loud. One of the things that I did was I would wait until I got home and crack open a book and begin reading out loud. Even if I was making a mistake, I would correct the pronunciation. But if I wasn't able to comprehend exactly what was being written in the book and what I was saying out loud, I continued. As long as I was able to effectively pronounce the words correctly, I continued to move on until I got into the end of the page, and then I would go sentence by sentence, especially the sentence that I didn't fully understand, and try to get an understanding of what I read, a better comprehension. Another tip I would say is to watch as many series and movies within the target language that you're learning. When I first moved here to Spain, I would watch different types of series with subtitles. The subtitles weren't in Spanish, they were in English, and I slowly began to change those subtitles that were in English into Spanish. Another tip that I want to share with you all is to think in the language. One thing that I try to do when I'm home alone, because I live alone, is I try to think as much as I can in Spanish. When I first moved in Spain, once again, I had different sticky notes everywhere around my apartment, from the windows to the walls. No, from the windows to the chairs, to the walls, to the door, tap, the refrigerator, everything had a name. That way I knew, for some reason I was able to connect those words because I opened the window every day. I sat on a chair every single day. And you know, just changing the way that you're thinking is so important, and it will make a huge difference within days, not even weeks or months, within days of learning the second language. Another tip is to stay motivated. It's difficult to learn a second language, to tell the truth. Very difficult to try to sound like a native, not have an American accent. Even if you do have a bad day where you probably have misconjugated a verb or misused a word, I just want to encourage you to stay motivated that you will have a bad day, you will have a bad moment, but that doesn't negate the hard work that you have poured yourself into while learning the second language. It just takes time. It takes a lot of time, and you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to reward yourself at the same time. Well, these are just some quick tips and mistakes that I've made while learning a second language. I hope it resonated with whoever that's watching. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to bring out more videos about languages and moving abroad and, you know, being an American and now living in Europe and what that's like for me. All right, catch you in the next video. Bye.